Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. It's Saturday, January the 8th, and I wanted to jump on. Plenty to talk about what's going on. I attended the demonstration at the U.S. Capitol that the fake news and all the leftists who are feigning outrage, the very same leftists who supported actual violent rioting throughout American cities this past year, they're now outraged when Trump supporters gather at the U.S. Capitol, sprinkle in some Antifa provocateurs, along with a leftist plan to pretend that the Capitol's under siege. You see the photo where they're all inside the House chamber, I guess, and all under the pews. And meanwhile, U.S. Capitol police officers outside are escorting Antifa in, even telling everyone to stay still for certain photo ops. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The deep state Luciferians are such frauds. But nevertheless, it was a great event in Washington. I didn't go down to the Ellipse or the Washington Monument, but there was just a huge number of people there. Don't even know what the count was. Doesn't even matter. It was a huge number of people. There were a huge number of people at the U.S. Capitol. And, we went there to let those corrupted scumbags who are just criminals know that we're not going to take much more of their Bravo Sierra. And I think they got the message loud and clear. And I'll tell you one thing, leftists who are feigning outrage over this and blaming President Trump for a demonstration that you pretend was a riot from your own infiltrators. Give me a break that they bust in. I'm going to tell you this. That's the last time I'm going to that city for a peaceful demonstration. The next time we go to that city, American patriots are going to take that city over, literally. So you better be damn happy we came this last time to demonstrate peacefully. But after you've stolen an election and you're a grave threat to the constitutional republic, well, I predict Joe Biden will never take office, and I'd be willing to bet quite a bit of money on that, because I think right now we're actually only a few days away from, I guess you could call it martial law going into effect, and the arrest of thousands upon thousands of these vile Luciferian pedophile criminal syndicate. And they're not just going to be arrested for the vile, disgusting, murderous, torturing, cannibalistic things they do to children. They're going to be arrested for basically a global crime syndicate where they have essentially perpetrated fraud and caused death, mayhem, and misery on this planet for a very long time. And that's all coming to a head, and the plan is going as planned. I know a lot of people were bummed out when Trump comes on and says there's going to be a smooth transition. He's not talking about a smooth transition to Joe Biden's administration, because Joe Biden is never going to be the president of the United States, because Joe Biden was not elected the president of the United States. And I don't know if you saw what has come out of Italy. It was huge national news in Italy. Of course, the CIA Mockingbird fake news networks are not covering it, but one of the 8th largest defense contractor in the world, I forgot their name, but they're an Italian company, and they apparently do business with the U.S., has a big contract with them, and operatives, I'm sure CIA corrupted traitor scumbags in the American embassy in Rome were apparently conspiring with these, at least several employees of these defense contractors who testified in court under oath that they indeed were switching votes during the election, and their firm satellites were being used and technologies to do that. So you got to ask yourself, like, why wouldn't you hear that on the news? But that's certainly not the only way in which they stole elections. It's all going to be laid out, and all the evidence will be showed to everyone. DNI, by the way, the DNI Ratcliffe, you see what happened was Donald Trump and the Patriots and the military intel folks and all this, you know, they wanted Pence to go there and do that. I still don't know which side Pence is on, and it doesn't really matter. But they wanted him to go there and do that so that this particular election stealing, the crime itself, could be completed, and everybody could see that. So I guess DNI Radcliffe just sent the report from his office, the Director of National Intelligence, that gathers intelligence from the multitude of intelligent alphabet soup up there in D.C., and he sent his report about the election, and there's ample proof there was riddled with fraud. But waited until after the Luciferian criminals on Capitol Hill, many of them Republicans, and this is also another reason it was done this way. Remember, in advance of this, you had, I don't know, 12, 15 senators come out, Republican senators that are going to stand behind Trump and fair election, da-da-da. Yet they didn't. They didn't at the end of the day. I think maybe 6 senators stood for it. So the good guys, the white hats, also did this entire maneuver to just smoke out and let the rhino criminals show themselves and show their true colors, which they did. And it's sad but true that about 90% on Capitol Hill are a part of the criminal syndicate. They're in on it, Republicans and Democrats. Very few, I think, are legitimate, honest individuals who actually have the American citizenry as their priority in Congress. But you know, I think that the trap, the entire election was a sting operation and a trap. There's more than ample evidence. So the other thing that is important to remember is apparently all of the paper ballots were printed, and not the company that, this is how I understand it, the company that provides the paper for these paper ballots, it was actually embedded somehow, like with a watermark, but it was a non-radioactive isotope that, so of course you can like visually see a watermark, I guess, but these could actually be tracked by GPS. So they know when legitimate ballots were taken and burned or whatever it was, and exactly when they are. They probably have satellite photography coverage of such events like that. So there is so much evidence that the American people are going to eventually see. But I think that's going to come after the military martial law and the mass arrests. Because, you know, these people need to be rounded up. They need to be tried in a military tribunal under the the military code of justice, and many of them need to be executed. And I like I said, I really think that we're within days of that right now. And here's another indicator of that, I think, and that is that you see Nancy Pelosi was scrambling, and this is what makes me wonder, maybe Pence is still on the right side of things, like Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions played his role. He's not a bad guy. He played the exact role he's supposed to in the movie. But you know, Pelosi's begging Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove the president, and Pence said no. So that kind of tells me that, hey, you know what, Pence is probably not a turncoat, or else he'd want to do everything he could to get President Trump out of office as soon as he could as well. Then Pelosi, when Pence tells her no on that, starts talking about that they're going to impeach on Monday. Now, the interesting thing is, and another reason why I think that it's the arrests are coming like within days, is because it's possible now that all these turncoats have shown their true colors, that they could muster the votes in the House and the Senate to impeach and remove the president. And I don't know, perhaps martial law, perhaps the power's already been handed over to the military. Perhaps General Flynn is actually running that show now. I don't know. But if Trump were no longer in office, or they voted to do that and immediately remove him, I don't know if that would necessarily be a good thing. So that's why I think the arrests could perhaps be hastened so they're not even able to bring impeachment and removal from office into play. But it shows you how desperate they are and how guilty they are and how they know what's coming and why you should be optimistic. Why would Nancy Pelosi expend the capital, the political capital, to have Donald Trump removed when he's got, what? At that point, he'll have like 8 or 9, 10 days left in office? Well, I'll tell you why. Because she doesn't want him to be in the position to pull the trigger on martial law. That's why. So I think that's a clear indicator that, the arrests are coming. And so it makes me very happy to see her panicking like that. There's also talk that the White Hats actually kind of flipped the whole scenario on their little false flag at the Capitol when they sent in their Antifa operatives. And that, sorry, Loki, we're going to turn around because I'm here in the river parking lot. We're going to go to another park, but sorry, Loki gets excited. But, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. There's this pup over there. Anyhow, what else do we have going on right now? Well, of course, the President of the United States, the guy who has the nuclear codes to the largest nuclear arsenal in the world, he's been removed from Twitter because he's a security risk. What I find ironic, too, is that Donald Trump had created a video on Wednesday afternoon, I think around 4, he released it on Twitter, asking folks go home peacefully, just go home peacefully, you've made your point. And they removed that video. So who's inciting violence then? I'll tell you who's inciting violence. The big tech traders they're actually CIA operations. They always have been. Facebook, Google, YouTube, Twitter. They are inciting violence because if the fools think that they can just wholesale remove conservatives from having any sort of voice on what is, the public square in social media these days, they're absolutely insane. I mean, they're only promoting violence, and I think they actually know that. They bring us closer to civil war. Really, it'd be a revolution is what it would be. Because when you shut people up and when you even steal from them their way of making a living, for some of these folks like on YouTube who just have their channels snatched away, who have put a lot of time and effort into creating a large subscription base, and you exile people like that, and you ostracize anybody, half the country who believes in Donald Trump, who actually the first president who cares about America in a very long time. And so you can expect more of this from the Luciferians because they're scared and they're desperate. And they want to try to limit communications between patriots as much as possible, but it's not going to work. And I'm not a shortwave radio expert, but let me just suggest that perhaps if all comms are removed and that you get a shortwave radio that transmits as well. But even if you don't, I think we ought to make 1776 hertz or whatever, megahertz. I'm not sure what it is. Somebody with shortwave radio experience could clarify what denomination of the hertz it actually is, of the frequency. But let's make the frequency 1776, where across the world we can actually communicate no matter what type of comm systems they take down, or social media platforms or telephones or anything that's taken down. We're still able to communicate and hear what's going on and coordinate. So I'd like to get that word out that we create the frequency, not create the frequency, but that we commonly know and will use the frequency of 1776 to communicate with one another when there's no other means of communication. So kind of spread that around and keep that in mind. If anything does happen, I'll try to be on that frequency, even though I've misplaced my little handheld shortwave radio, unfortunately. I have been digging and digging for that thing. But yeah, jump online and grab yourself a shortwave radio, even if it's just a receiver. I think that's a good thing to have. You might even want to just shoot to Walmart, because I think this stuff is all going down, honestly, in the next few days. Scratch Walmart. Try to find it somewhere else, because Walmart's all they're a part of this. I mean, you saw how they attacked Senator what's his name, Hawley, one of the few American patriots in the Senate. But then, of course, retracted that once they got the lashback from Americans. But look, here's the bottom line. The liars in the media will say what they want. Leftists who hate Donald Trump, who have been brainwashed, will say what they want about the demonstration at Capitol Hill. I was there firsthand with my own eyes, and I can tell you it was a large gathering, overwhelmingly peaceful, and I was even about 20 feet away when some Antifa operatives started to break glass, a window, on the Capitol, up on the balcony, and everyone up there, all the Trump supporters were like, "Hey, stop that, we don't do that." And then the U.S. Capitol Police came over and stopped the window from being broken completely. I think y'all also probably saw the video of, looked like this Antifa operative was using a slapjack, if you know what that is. That's what it looked like to me, to break an oval window above a door. And a patriot saw that and reached up and stopped him from doing that, physically stopped him from doing that. As I understand it, his little group of Antifa pukes then proceeded to assault him. So if you want to characterize this as some sort of riot by Trump supporters, you're either just, you're flat out being dishonest and you're lying, or you're ignorant. And you need to go and really look at videos. If you're looking at news reports still on something like this, then you're foolish to believe the news. You need to go and look at regular people's live streams and that sort of thing. And I gotta tell you, I've seen the riots that have gone on by leftists across this country all year. And this was a far more peaceful gathering than most of those that you'll see. So, once again, the hypocrisy of the left and their mockingbird media is just, well, it's not even shocking anymore, but it's, you wonder how anybody still believes them. Me and my buddy were talking the other day, and it's just like, how are these people still so brainwashed that they believe this stuff, And I don't know, that's a whole nother topic, I think, for a video. But it truly is baffling how people can be so brainwashed and not more clearly see the truth. I'll tell you, there's a video I watched that I'm going to post down below. And as usual, the name of the guy escapes me. He's a talented guy, though. He knows his stuff. And he did a great summary of the history of how we got where we are today. And this is over more than 100 years. Really kind of going back to 1871. So it is a great summary and done in 30 minutes to send to your family members, who are almost all of mine are just, it's unbelievable how brainwashed they are. And just send it to them, so at least they have the opportunity to understand what is the history behind some of these things that you say that seem so outrageous to them. Or if you're like me, you don't say a whole lot of anything to them anymore, just because it's just going to cause controversy and strife. And you can only help people so much before they just need to help themselves. Anyways, guys, I'm going to go run the dogs. It's a beautiful day in the park, and they need a good run. Oh, I took Loki too to the demonstration. I got to tell you, I kept Sophie at home. She doesn't like the cold as much, and I didn't want to have to manage 2 dogs. But give a shout out to Loki. Come here, Loki. Loki was a very good patriot dog, and there were concussion grenades going off at times, and pepper spray and mace spray and tear gas and all that kind of stuff. And he was a real patriot and hung in there, and he did a great job. And some might say, well, why would you take your dog somewhere like that? And it's because he and I we're a team. And I know if he could talk, he'd say, of course I want to be there with you. He always wants to be there with me because he's my best friend, and he really is my guardian and protector. But I'll tell you what I really like that he brings to an event like that is he just brings this loving energy. And even if it's a stressful environment, you can see people, their demeanor just immediately changes when they start to pet him, because he loves people and he loves to be touched. So it's almost like he's a little respite center for people, in the middle of a very what can be a very tense and draining situation. He's that beacon of light and love. So that's another reason I always bring him, because he's very good at that. And so is Sophie, but I didn't bring her again because it was too cold. She does not like the cold at all. And you know, I just didn't want to have to manage 2 dogs that day. But anyways, guys, I love y'all. If you're not stocked up on food and water and things like gasoline and a generator, electric heater, because it's possible you lose power through this when the arrests start. I hope that's not the case, and that would be the bad guys doing that if it happens. But stock up on your essential stuff. Go get a shortwave radio if you can afford it, you know, and tell your family members to do the same so you can talk to them. And again, spread the word about that 1776 frequency. I'm sure I'm not the only guy that's thought of that, so we could make that kind of a hub for patriots to communicate with one another, so we all know what's going on during these trying times. But you know, and one last message I'm going to leave that I said to many of the Capitol police officers, and I tried to do it in a loving manner, if you will, and that was, I would go up to them and I'd say, look, man and woman, you know, we don't have any beef with you. And what you're doing now, though, is you're protecting evil, who has hijacked our country and is destroying our constitutional republic. And there may come a time when we come back, and we come back armed, but, you know, we, the constitutional militia, the 3%, which will be acting lawfully, will give you fair warning. And please, I mean, I would resign if I were you at this point. It's just not worth it, and you're protecting evil, corrupted people. But at least call in sick that day, you know. So I was trying to give them fair warning, because I don't want to see those type of people, you know, get in the middle of that. That being said, I'm not Bobby Back the Blue, because I'm very aware that one of the industries that the Luciferians target and try to maintain leadership in is law enforcement, for obvious reasons. It's another institution of power. So some of those, I'm sure, Capitol police officers I know in the FBI and a lot of other law enforcement agencies are indeed minions or Luciferians or Satanists themselves. And so they are willingly protecting and knowingly protecting evil. And, you know, they should have no mercy shown upon them. Anyway, let's hope it doesn't get to that. I'd rather just see the military do that. They're much better equipped, and I think more lives could be saved that way than having to muster the constitutional militia and do it the really hard way. And also, you know, pray and meditate for all these brave soldiers and patriots who are going to go into these operations, and some very dangerous operations, I'm sure, to arrest these criminals and to help us restore our republic. But I think we're in for some really good times, folks. I'm very excited for all of us. Keep your chin up and keep your hopes high, because, man, this is going to be a very good year for the world. Not just the United States, but for the world. I love you guys. Gonna roll. We'll see you. Bye. Oh, doesn't work with my glove on.